Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Jason Perro. Thanks for being on the show again, Jason.
Thanks for having me again, Whitney. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you, Jason. I know we've been in a mastermind together, numerous events and conferences, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And for the listeners, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to show 127 and 220. It was February 25th of last year and May 29th. Jason and I did a show covering some other topics and his background in real estate. And he is growing like mad, doing some amazing stuff in real estate. So I encourage you to go back and listen to that. And then, but a little about him, just in case you didn't hear that. He's a real estate investor from Erie, Pennsylvania, who owns and operates over 650 rental units with his wife, Nadia. They have built their portfolio over the past 19 years, owning everything from single-family homes to large 80-plus unit apartment communities. Built his business while maintaining a day job in medical device sales, which he was able to retire from in 2020. So, Jason, thank you again for your time. Why don't you give us an update on what, anything new that's happening or where you all are at, and let's dive in.
Sure. So Nadia and I still own about 650 units ourselves, and we've syndicated about 300 units over the last year. Have a couple more syndication deals in the pipeline, and we still have this stuff going on our own personal end too. So, just kind of continual growth and not just growing for the sake of growing, but trying to figure out new and different deals and things that really fit our, fit our business model. So just trying to have fun with it every day.
Nice. Well, before we started recording, you and I were talking about just the way we could bring value to the listeners today. And one thing, you had mentioned is the need for mentors and some things you're learning around that at the moment. And I thought maybe we could back up a little bit and maybe, you could tell us about just maybe a mentor in your career or why that's so important or how it's been so important to you.
Sure. When I was starting out in the business, I was just kind of going it alone and reading books and talking to different people. And I guess at the time you could say the folks that I would meet and talk to and the books were mentors, but really like a mentor being a teacher or someone that, that you develop a personal relationship that helps you kind of overcome challenges and mental blocks, emotional blocks, whatever the case is. My first real mentor in the real estate business was a gentleman I met in 2005 that it was my first large acquisition. So it was $1 million deal. And for me at the time, that was massive. And we came up with a small down payment and he held the mortgage, but we developed a friendship. But he was the teacher, me being the student, and, over several years that relationship blossomed, but I still reference him to this day, even though he's, 8 years retired out of the business. I try to at least connect with him once or twice a year because, I want to show him and make him proud of the things we've done. But his mindset and his approach to real estate, his approach to, family life, marriage, business, everything, I learned a lot from him. And not that he was perfect, but it opened up my mind for the need of finding a mentor. And that kind of followed, that was kind of like the impetus for me to find mentors when I was working my day job to, try and be the best at that craft. And then, that followed me in real estate. And I've had several mentors over the years, not only in real estate, but other areas of life as well. But I've always found that, when I struggle, that, kind of looking to my mentors, not necessarily for advice, but just to chat about, life, love, and happiness and everything in between. And sometimes the answers appear, and it's, not that everybody needs therapy or anything like that, but I was feeling stuck, over the last year or two. It's like you accomplish all these great things and these goals, but it's sort of like, well, what's next? And I sort of reflected back on those times where I was at a block in the past. And so I just said, you know what, really the thing that got me through a lot of this was different mentorship. And, I came across this TED talk and this concept from this book that I hope I pronounce his name correctly, but it's Anthony Jan or Chijan, wrote a book called Good People. And I guess he has some sort of, I don't know his background, but it sounds like he's a very successful business person. And he talks about the need for not just one mentor, but like 5 mentors in different areas. And
Wow.
that concept really kind of resonated with me. So I've been marinating on it, reflecting, journaling, and just, kind of like trying to dissect these ideas around what he talks about. And it makes a heck of a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you though, for the listener who's looking for that mentor, maybe they're thinking, I kind of like you were, I'm going to go at this alone. I did the same thing, in the beginning, and before I really seen the value in having that person that's already climbed that mountain. They've already done it and can just help you so much. But how did you connect with that guy? Because I feel I get that question often, like how do I find that person, and how do because why would they want to help me?
Sure.
And what was that for you?
Well, and I just want to hit on that point you mentioned really quickly. You said, why would this person want to help me? I found that sometimes in business and life, good people are generally very giving of their time and information. And it's surprising that they don't all get inundated with, hey, can you be my mentor? Can you be my coach? And I mean, people that do that for a living. I mean, there's a lot of real estate gurus, entrepreneurial gurus that charge for the information, as they should. But maybe somebody's young and starting out, and they don't have the money or the resources or even the time to, travel to conferences and seminars and weekends away. But I think, for me early on, it was just building relationships, trying to build friendships without expecting anything in return. So for that first mentor, we met because he was selling his property, and we really hit it off. And I mean, I liked him because I looked at him like he was this real estate master, and he wanted to, he did what I wanted to do. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, is doing amazing things. And I think for me, he must've seen like a younger version of himself, like full of ambition, maybe a little bit lost, and, maybe a older brother or father-son type of relationship. But, I think, but he probably liked me too, because I was looking to buy his property. But I mean, we became friends, we had a lot in common, and, it's not like we were best friends, but we would go to dinner, with our wives a couple times a year. We went to his house for a Super Bowl party. But he and I would meet for coffee once a month, and I would, talk about the challenges I was facing in the business, talk about the successes, and ask him questions, see how things were going in his life. And I just got a ton of information. So we became friends, not best friends, but we became friends. And that's happened other times in the business where, we've become friends with somebody that, they may be 20, 30, 40 years older even, and they just, or they may be younger, and you become friendly with somebody and you have that affinity, and I think it's a mutually beneficial relationship, because everybody likes to talk and give advice and receive advice as well. So I think, for someone starting out, I know people say this is bad advice, but it's always worked for me. So I just offer to buy somebody a cup of coffee or buy them lunch. And I think that works. I'm not, going in with a set agenda trying to buy that person's property or, get them to lend me money. I'm genuinely trying to pick their brain on, real estate and either, hopefully build a friendship or build a rapport. But, I'm not going in there guns a-blazing trying to close a deal. Just really trying to, create a friendship and going with an open heart and open mind, that, hey, you know what? Yeah, maybe I'll make a new friend out of this meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, finding a mentor was just a major turning point for me.
Yeah.
But I would say even before, like, I hired a mentor, I was going to a real estate meetup, and there was a guy there that I just kind of clicked with. He kind of took me under his wing a little bit. He would he would stay after the meetings. We would sit, and like, I'd have all these notes written out, and all this stuff, trying to get in the business. And he was just a great sounding board. He had never done apartment communities, but he had lots of single family homes. He had been in real estate long, so he had lots of experience. But if nothing else, just for me to like just say these things out loud and him to ask me some good questions to help me to think through these things I'm trying to do or accomplish, like went a long ways.
Yeah.
And I find even now with a paid mentor who's way ahead of me, I don't always know the right questions to ask, but I'll just be talking about what I'm doing or whatever. And they start asking questions, or he does. And we get a lot further, or we get a lot more accomplished, in that 30 minutes than I really expected,
Right. Exactly.
So valuable. But now you're learning that, that maybe you need more than one mentor.
Yeah.
Is that right? Could you elaborate and let's go through
Sure.
that?
And it seems like such a simple concept, but I was just, flipping through some YouTube videos on TED Talks, and it really hit me, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit. And so what this Anthony Jan talks about, and correct me in the show notes if I pronounced it wrong, I apologize, but he said that people should have 5 mentors in different areas of life. So mentor number 1 would be the master of the craft. So that guy that I met that was doing things way beyond what I thought were comprehensible to me at the time. So find somebody that's ahead of you and where you want to go, and that that person will teach you, teach you the business, and you can go faster by learning from folks that are masters at the craft. A second type of mentor would be like a champion of the cause. So maybe somebody that really loves what you're doing, and they see what you're doing, but they're going to boost you. They're going to promote you or connect you with people. So for instance, in real estate, somebody's getting started. Maybe it's somebody that's not even in real estate, but they're a successful business person. And they're like, hey, look, I know plenty of people that want to invest money into deals. And I know people that have deals. They're just going to take an affinity to you and help champion your cause. So the third type of mentor would be, he calls the co-pilot. So it would be like your best work bud or your peers. So, like be it a mini mastermind, or be it, 1, 2, 3 people that you hang out with a lot that are maybe at the similar path, but you're right on the same level. So you're kind of sharing successes and failures and challenges and those types of things, and can kind of relate to that water cooler talk. And, you help each other along on your own respective journeys, even if those journeys are divergent and going different places. He talks about mentor 4, which would be the anchor. So someone who gives you a mental or psychological boost. So, example of that, like I have a friend who, he's not necessarily multifamily, he's a real estate broker, but, I would talk to him, and I've known him now for about 12 years. And every single time you speak with him, and this is morning, noon, night, 2 a.m, whatever, this guy's always there for you, but you feel like he just came out of a Tony Robbins seminar. I swear. I mean, he's full of positivity. So if you're feeling down, he's just, he's full of just, like vim and vinegar, and saying, hey, look, you can do it. You have everything you need to take on the world today. And you leave that conversation feeling better than you did when you went in. He's just someone that helps supercharge your life. And then mentor 5 would be pay attention to those you're mentoring. So the lessons you can learn from those that you mentor. So, our in our mastermind group, Rod Cleef, talks about, hey, you have one hand, someone pulling you up, and the other hand, you're pulling someone else up. It's almost as if that mentorship sort of takes a full circle approach, that, you're also, you're having people help bring you up, but you need to bring up those a lot, that are trying to get to where you are, but you can also learn from those folks as well. So I just found those concepts super interesting, and like have been kind of marinating on that and journaling it. And it just, it really hit me, because it's I see a lot of people just go, head first into whatever, business program or mentorship program that's out there. And that's great, but there's always something a little lacking, because I think maybe they're not taking an entirely holistic approach about their journey. It's tunnel vision on one area. So, you might have a multifamily mentor and you're going to excel at that, but you might drop the ball in certain other areas. So I don't know. It just made a heck of a lot of sense to me, and kind of reinvigorated my zest for the business and what we're doing on our own end, but really trying to be hyper focused and try and give back to others as well on this journey.
One thing that has made me successful is something that most people don't think of. It's the way that I've branded myself online. If you want to brand yourself to raise more capital, then I suggest working with my friend Adam Adams. So go ahead, scroll down, and find the link in the show notes. Yeah, I like that a lot, and at least to think through that a little bit, because I know like my mentor is very successful in this business and all that, but you know, in the beginning there wasn't that friend component, that friendship
Yeah.
component. You know,
Yeah.
it was more, you know, how do I do this, or help me think through some
Yeah.
of these business related, you know, the syndication business stuff or apartment, whatever
Yeah.
that was going on at the time. But there wasn't that friendship component. We're more
Right.
friends now, but it's still not like my buddy from high school or
Sure.
you know my business partner, you know, or something like that.
Right.
And so I can see the, you know, the definitely need for different mentors, and I have numerous mentors, you know, outside of real estate as well.
Right.
But you know, in your journey now, you know, you've been in real estate a number of years now and very successful. You know, what about, you know, have you like noticed other people in your life that meet these five, or you know, have you like thought that out, like, okay, I know this person is my, you know, the champion of the cause or the co-pilot and that type
Sure.
of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I and again, this is just a concept that hit me at, you know, what this Anthony was speaking on. So I hadn't really thought about it before, but when I looked at it and put it on a paper, I said, all right, well, there's definitely people that fit these different areas. And, you know, like even the guys and gals that I know that are coming up in the business that, you know, call me up for coffee or lunch. And I you know, I'm championing what they're doing. I love their energy. You see their integrity, but learning a ton from them too. I'm saying, man, if I would have, you know, if I had, you know, that skill level, I could do what they're doing. So I'm getting energized off of, you know, their youthful energy. And some of them aren't young; they're just young in the business. But so I see that, and it's, you know, maybe these concepts will help me be a better mentor to them, but also maybe a better mentee to the folks that I'm learning from. That just being able to keep that open mind and open heart to the lessons that are there. You know, instead of just being so driven, you know, to close deals and make money and things like that. So I think all those great things will come. You still have to work the process and work that plan. But, you know, it's really interesting to see the people that kind of fit those molds, and some come and go. You know, some may be a mentor. You know, once a mentor, always a mentor. But, you know, you may outgrow them. You know, you may,
Right.
you know, they may outgrow you, or they may not. You know, just life changes. You know, but I haven't, like I said, my very first mentor in the business, I haven't seen him very often in the last several years. But when I do, you know, it's always a treat. But I still refer to him at least once or twice a week in my business, with my employees and even my life. I just hold him in a high regard, for, you know, for the mistakes he made, but also, like, you know, the things that I think were awesome and amazing, and that he did in the business. Like, you know, there's things that he told me 15 years ago. I thought maybe I could, you know, find a better way, and I didn't. He was right. You know, he was right on a lot of things. So,
What about, you know, maybe personally, what about, you know, like mentors outside of real estate or
yeah,
business? You know, would you say, okay, you know, I need a mentor. I know we've listed these five, and all those may not be in real estate or business,
yeah,
but what about, you know, could you speak to it personally, how that's happened over or evolved over your business, how you've had mentors maybe outside of real estate as well?
sure. Well, I think it comes down to that the concept of, you know, you are the average of the five people you spend the most time with, and so some of that that teaching and that concept is related to, you know, personal life. You know, friends. I mean, if you're hanging around the wrong crowd, you know, and again, if you you know, if all of your friends are at the country club, or they're at the golf course, you know, golfing 5 days a week, and you know, drinking beer after golf 5 days a week, chances are you're going to be doing the same thing. And not that that's a bad thing, but how does that get in? You know, how does that interfere with the rest of your life? Or, you know, or if all of your friends are, you know, divorced 3 times, and they're out, like, doing things they shouldn't be doing, then chances are that may be what you know, what you become. And not judging anybody's life choices or anything like that, but you want to surround yourself with people that are positive influences in, you know, as a husband, as a father, you know, a wife, mother, friend, all those types of things. So, and it doesn't mean that you can't be friends with people, but one of my mentors in life and business, Darren Hardy, who was publisher of Success Magazine, wrote The Compound Effect. And I may butcher this, but he had talked about, you know, you had like your you know, your 5-minute friend, your 50-minute friend, your 5-hour friend, and your 5-day friend. Like, you have people that you want to maintain that relationship with, but beyond 5 minutes, it becomes toxic. They start talking about politics, or they start talking
Right.
about, complaining and being negative. And so you limit it. And then there's, the folks that, hey, maybe they're good for an hour. Maybe that's your buddy at the gym, or, a friend that you'll grab a coffee or a beer with. But, beyond that, maybe it's toxic. And then, you gravitate up towards your 5-day friend. Those are the folks that you could go on vacation with, and you really, or you could be stranded in an airport in the middle of a snowstorm, and still make the best out of it. And so, it's not about cutting people out of your life. But I have heard a lot of these mentors and coaches say that, well, absolutely you should, if they're toxic and they're, that seems a little drastic. So if you're not ready to do that, it would be limiting your associations, and really just keeping the people in your life that you're helping, that provide love and value to, and those that are doing the same to you, that are kind of uplifting your mental and emotional state.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And I can even in, personal life, I want to be mentored by, other men that are way ahead of me and that are good husbands and good fathers, and, things like that as well. And I know, we when we moved to where we're at now, we started going to a different church, obviously. And just, the men there, they don't even know it, but they're mentoring me just by discipling me, and by the way they lead their families and their children. And, and I learned a lot, from them. So it's, so important. And I would speak to how you talked about, maybe you don't have to cut people out, but my relationship with friends that I used to have changed a lot. I'm still their friend, but that relationship has changed because I've taken a different direction, or my focus is a lot different, and I'm going to be purposeful with that time. But no. So, maybe to move on, or anything else about, finding that mentor, Jason, that you want to add, or something that's been beneficial to you before we go to the last few questions before we run out of time.
No, I just think, and I would challenge you too. You mentioned people that are mentors to you that they may not even know it. I'd challenge you to maybe, ask that person that you look up to out for a cup of coffee and become vulnerable. Most men don't, we don't share our emotions or talk about it. But when we do, how much further do we get? And you can talk to him and say, hey, look, I like the way that you act as a father and a husband. How can I be more like you? Or how did you get to that point to where you seem like you've got it all together? So there's nothing wrong with asking for help, or trying to be open and vulnerable. We all grow as human beings by doing that.
I think that's some great advice right there. And I hope the listener is listening to that and thinking about, if you're not vulnerable, then you're kind of closing the door to change.
Right. Yeah. You said it perfectly, man.
That was just random. I can't believe
that
came out like that.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah. So thank you, Jason. Yeah. But a few more questions before we run out of time. And you've been in this apartment business for a long time and very experienced and successful. Tell me, the hardest part about your syndication journey.
Yeah. The hardest part, there's a lot, it's not easy, but it's a lot of fun. And I think the hardest part is to not be blinded by other people's success. There was a quote, Wesley Snipes said it, or maybe somebody co-opted it to him, but they said, people aren't telling you about their failures on Facebook. They're like, everybody's going out and, hey, I just closed, 3,000 doors and I have all this money, and, and it's easy to try and compare yourself to others. Don't do that. Just be grateful and happy with where you're at. Trust the process. You can go so far, and when you reflect in a year, 2, 3 years, you'll be amazed at how far you've come. But don't get so hard on yourself and compare yourself to those other ones, because sometimes that success is not what it appears to be, from what people put on social media. And we live in an age where, we're all on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So just trying to realize, like, hey, you know what? I'm grateful for where I'm at. I have blessed, beyond measure with everything we have, financially, personally. So just be grateful and kind of taking that attitude of gratitude every day. And if you stop comparing yourself to others, just focus on yourself.
Yes. Wow. What about, how are you prepared or preparing for this potential downturn that everyone's talking about?
Yep. So that's a great question. And for me personally, what I did over the last few years is I refinanced a good majority of my property, anything that I wanted that wasn't within 2 to 3 years of being paid off. Now, for the most part, I did not pull capital out. What I did was reset the loan, so I was able to maximize my cash flow. So in the event of a downturn, I feel like I still have enough equity in the properties that, gosh, if we were really in hard times, we could borrow against that to, like if all of a sudden, some massive catastrophe that hits the properties that's not covered by insurance or some weird event, but also just to maximize the cash flow. The other thing we've done in the other instances was to pull equity out and leave it on the sidelines so we can be opportunistic for that downturn. So, and we try to educate on the syndication side and joint venture side, educate our investors about, don't be fearful when everybody else is. That's I think Warren Buffett said it right. Be courageous when others are fearful, and fearful when others are courageous. But having some reserve set aside so you can take action on the opportunity that will be there, because there will be a lot of opportunity when that downturn comes. But just making sure that you have enough cash flow to cover everything. We don't want to have to lay anybody off. We don't want to have to make those types of tough decisions. So just trying to make sure that the business and personal life are prepared for what could happen economically.
What's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to ours?
The biggest thing I've done over the last year and a half, 2 years was stepping away and allowing others, hiring better people that are better at whatever task it is than myself. So really getting out of my own way and focusing on what I'm good at. And I found there's so much power in having someone, who's organized, someone who loves paperwork, or there's people, surprisingly, there's people out there that like that kind of stuff. But when you're an entrepreneur, we like the process. We like to, we like the art of the deal. But you need people in your life to keep things organized, keep things clean. And we self-manage our properties. So I really extricated myself out of the tenant management part of it, and hired people and compensate people that love systems, that love process, that are great at customer relations. And it's been such a blessing. And I've been able to grow in so many ways, not just from a business standpoint, but just, personally, to say, you know what, you've got people that thrive in these roles. It's I think been a huge part of our growth, just learning how to delegate and learning how to set up systems and processes.
What's a way that you stand out in your relationship with your investors?
I think the biggest thing with our investors, for me personally, is experience. So Nadia and I built this business going back to 2001, and we have a great base, or a great core of properties that that provide our living. And so we're not brand new syndicators, and that's not to criticize anybody just getting into it, because I've met people that are far more brilliant at it than I am, that have like 1 year of experience. So sometimes the newbies are great, but for my investors, being in a Midwest market, sort of a more conservative approach, that experience level speaks volumes. And also having a partner on the syndication side that is not real estate focused, but had a very large business. So there's not just myself, but my co-GP is very well known locally, and we kind of have this cross collaboration, cross section of different skill sets and from different industries. So it's really kind of like a good business marriage, that we see the blind spots in each other that we may not otherwise see without each other there.
What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I think the number one thing has been the mentors. When I started focusing on personal development, a guy that I used to work for had kind of gave me all the list of the tapes and the courses I should buy and listen to. And he said, when you start focusing on yourself, you'll make a fortune. And then that, I think Jim Rohn used to say it all the time, that, when you start focusing on, developing yourself, you're going to, the sky's the limit, I guess. I mean, you can grow so far and so exponentially. And really, when I started doing that, I was like, everything exploded. But and just the positive mindset. We all face challenges every day that seem to derail us from personally, professionally, whatever it is, but trying to be grateful and always see the glass is half full, never half empty, even if that's the most difficult thing. So I try to repeat that to myself a few times every day when I get up in the morning, and say a couple positive affirmations, and that really just sets the right tone for the day.
And how do you like to give back?
So I like to give back, in the business. I like to mentor and build relationships with those just starting out. Really like to see people, successful in life and business. And then on a personal level, we're involved in a couple charitable organizations. Habitat for Humanity is one of them. So my wife and I, her more so, she does a lot of the budget coaching and works with these families as they get into home ownership. And it's just being in real estate, it's a nice fit to see people, achieve that American dream that may not otherwise have it. So it's really gratifying to see people take that step into home ownership and hopefully, maybe start to build a little bit of wealth for themselves as well.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jason. I appreciate you sharing that and giving back in that way, and how you and Nadia do that, and especially helping those families start to think about building some wealth. That's definitely a big mindset change for most people. It was for me. I know at one time, and you're definitely somebody I look up to, Jason, and I appreciate you and sharing with the listeners and taking the time. Finding a mentor. I love talking about it because it was a big turning point for me, and we just have accelerated so much faster. After hiring the right mentor, and now we've gained tons of mentors, just networking and meeting people like you're talking about.
Yeah.
But Jason, tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you and your business.
All right. So, people can get in touch with me through my website, perrorealestate.com. It's in the middle of a revamp, so our new website should hopefully be finished around the time the show launches or shortly after. Anybody can connect with me on LinkedIn. If you want to put my email in the show notes, jasonperro@yahoo.com. Be happy to schedule a Calendly call with anybody as well. You can book a 15-20 minute call with me. Just calendly.com/Jason Perro.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.